Hello, folks, and welcome back to another episode of AI Appalachian Intelligence. Your hosts, Justin Kaiser.
Ryan Ratliff.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed the last episode. We really enjoyed it, having our first guest interview. I think it was great. It was great to hear Jeff's story. It was great to have that different perspective on some of his thoughts and viewpoints of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed recording it. Couple announcements, or not really announcements, just a couple things to hit before we get started here. You can follow us on our socials. You can follow us on Facebook at Appalachian Intelligence. Follow us on Twitter at AI App Intel Pod. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Appalachian Intelligence. You can contact us with your stories at appalachianintelligence@gmail.com. And if you have stories, please do that. We want to hear about it. Rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts at. And you can also support the show. If you like what you're hearing, if you like the content, if you would like to see us grow and be able to do more recording wise, content wise, with our investigations and stuff that we have coming up. If you like it, you can support us. The link is in the show notes. It's buy me a coffee or Monster. Ryan's a big Monster fan. I'm the coffee fan.
Yeah, no coffee here.
But yeah, follow us on all those things. Follow us, like what we have out there, subscribe to what's out there, and rate and review, guys. Spread the word. If you like what you hear, spread the word. However you do that, or however you think possible to do that, just spread it. And before we get started, also, I forgot to mention this the last episode. I want to give a huge shout out to I lead a teen ministry at the church that I go to, at Grace Fellowship Baptist Church here in Hayside. And one of my teens that is involved in that ministry, her name is Lauren Wood. She did our cover art for us, our new cover art for our podcast cover. So to her, to Lauren, big thank you. That's awesome. We really, really, really appreciate that. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into it, man. Let's dive right in. This episode today is going to be part 3 of our Bigfoot series that we've had going on. In part 1, we discussed a little bit about the history of Bigfoot, the origins, some of the theories, just a lot of the things that are out there involved in the Bigfoot legend, the lore of Bigfoot. Part 2, Ryan's dad, actually, Jeff Ratliff, came on, gave us an account, told his story of coming, well, not face to face, but encountering a Bigfoot when he was 15, 16 years old, while he was hunting. And, you know, that's at that point when he was telling us the story, it had been, 40 some odd years that Jeff had this encounter and hadn't really started talking about it within the last little while, the last year or so. So it was awesome being able to hear his account. Well, today we're going to talk about some accounts that we've been promising you guys ever since part 1 of this. So I'm excited to get into it, Ryan. I know you're excited.
Oh yeah. It's one of my favorite subjects. The one thing I want to be real, it's Bigfoot. And whether it is or not, I don't know. Also, you guys are just going to have to bear with me a second. I forgot this chair. Sounds like this. So this is the sound of me getting a different chair, folks. Sorry if that was a bit noisy, but
you do what you got to do, bro. It wasn't that bad.
Good heaven. Fix the camera. we're supposed to do all this before we start recording, but you guys know us. Fuck it. I mean, fudge it. So Justin and I actually haven't seen each other in a few days. It's I woke up Monday morning pretty congested. Understood I probably had a sinus infection, but took the COVID test, came up negative. Our bosses in particular don't care for people with COVID being around their shop. So they asked me to wait a couple of days. So I haven't even seen you since what, Friday? No.
Let's see. No, it's been, well, I guess Friday morning.
Yeah, Friday morning.
Yeah, because we worked up the old shop. Yeah, we worked at the old shop.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're glad that Ryan hasn't popped positive for COVID. He probably still has it. Yeah. Everybody has it. Everybody has COVID. It's just everybody.
I don't even know what they stuck in me on and when I was in the military. I don't know. I could be immune to all of it.
Yeah, really. You went through the gauntlet of injections and vaccinations and all that stuff. I don't even know if our listeners know that about you, Ryan. Why don't you let them know?
Oh, I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force.
And y'all join me in thanking Ryan for his service to this great nation.
You are very welcome.
No, yeah, it's been a few days. Sorry, I had to send a quick message there. My bad.
I was doing the same thing earlier.
It's been a few days since me and Ryan have even seen each other. So we haven't, it's been, I think we're right around 2 weeks since our last episode dropped. But that's that's kind of some of the stuff that we talked about in the beginning. We're family men, we have full-time jobs. We do this because we enjoy it. We like to do it. And thank God for things like Zoom that we're doing this on right now, making it possible that, when one of us is sick or, have something going on. I mean, it doesn't take but a few minutes to set up. Boom, you got a Zoom meeting going and, an episode is done. So that's pretty cool. Technology's awesome.
Oh yeah. So you're going to lead us into some more historical events with Bigfoot, but some of the more, I don't want to say outrageous as in, crazy.
It's pretty outrageous.
But yeah, they are outrageous. I've actually read about these two encounters and watched a documentary on, pronounce it.
Honubby. Yeah, the siege at Honubby. That's one. It's spelled Honobia, and that's how I've been pronouncing it for weeks now. But I actually just seen a pronunciation guide on it, and it's pronounced Honubby. I don't know how they get Honubby from Honobia, but I guess it's just a colloquial thing there. I don't know.
Oh well.
But yeah, we're going to get into that. And I don't even know about the accounts that Ryan's going to share. I guess he's holding those cards close to his chest. I know we had talked about a couple of them, but I'm going to be just as surprised as you guys are with whatever he decides to share.
Yeah, actually, it's going to pick from some of my favorite episodes from Sasquatch Chronicles.
Nice.
And I'm pretty sure the one in particular I'm talking about.
Yeah. Why don't we lead with that one? Because I really enjoy that story. And the two that I'm going to share, it's crazy. I just found this out not long ago, and I don't even know if I told you about it or not. There's kind of a weird tie-in with the two accounts that I'm going to talk about. One is the Bigfoot sightings of 1855, or the Bigfoot sightings, the Bigfoot wars of 1855. And anybody that enjoys Bigfoot and enjoys the legend around it, has probably heard of this because it's so outrageous and so outlandish, but it's been passed on. This one account has been passed on since 1855, and we do have records, death certificates and things like that that match up with people involved in that time. Of course, their autopsy report doesn't say killed by Bigfoot, but we do have records of especially one of the main people in this account. We do have records that he died in 1855. So, but there's a weird little tie-in that I'm going to get to with these two accounts that they'll kind of blend together as I'm telling them. So it's pretty cool. So we'll start out with you and your accounts if you want to do that.
All right. So the one by far that's my favorite of all time. There's a retired military guy, got severe PTSD. He and his wife decide they found this plot of land in upper Oregon. They decide they're going to go out there. They're going to build them their forever home and their dream home out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's roads cut in for him to do this. And so he goes out to this property. It's clear cut. His dad hooks up his fifth wheel camper for him. That's what he takes up there to stay in. His uncle owns a construction company. So he had heavy equipment for the guy to borrow. He brings that up there, straps it on a trailer. So they're digging out the hole for the foundation, the full-size basement, all that. So the hole's really deep. I think he said it's like 10 or 12 foot deep. So he's out there on the very first night, and he's asleep. And then he just hears this metallic clang. And he's like, what in the world, So he grabs a sidearm and a flashlight, goes to the door, looks around, nothing. Goes and lays back down. He's not down 30 minutes. He hears another metallic clang. Now he's thinking, the chain binder, something like that, because he's not seeing anything out there. He's thinking maybe these kids from what they called that area, if they had a specific name for it. It's slipping my mind, and I don't know why. Anyway, he's back out there. He's not finding anything. He lays back down. He doesn't hear anything the rest of the night. Second night there, same thing, that metallic clang. He's losing his mind now because he's not seeing anything. So he takes his M4 to the door and yells at these kids that he thinks are kids messing with him. Maybe he came into one of their old drinking holes or something, to get away from their parents. But he's telling them, hey, you're trespassing. I'm armed. If I feel threatened, I will shoot you. They don't say anything else. He goes back to bed, and 5 minutes later, he hears that clang again. He runs back to the door this time, sits up against the door, wraps up in a blanket, and sits there all night long. Nothing else happened. Next evening, he says he builds this big giant bonfire, to let people know, hey, I'm here. This is mine, blah, blah, blah. He didn't really know. He really didn't know. So he goes to bed, but this time he's got a plan. He's got his vest on as he's going into his ammo vest. When he lays down, he's got his M4 loaded, he's got his sidearm loaded, and he's got his good mag light. Sure enough, he does hear a sound, but it's not the metallic clang. He hears what he thinks is a woman screaming. And he goes over to his door slowly, and he's like, I'm going to wait, because what if that was like some kind of bird I don't know about, something like that. Sure enough, he hears the sound of a woman screaming. He bursts through the door, and he says when you go out the door, where he parked his truck was to the right, and there was a mound of dirt there. If you ran around to the left, you could see where they dug the pit for the foundation, the basement. And he dead stops there, because when he looks across the hole, he can't really tell what it is he's seeing, but they're crouched down like if you were down on your stomach to do a push-up, up on their toes, with one arm holding them, but the other arm lowered down into the hole. Well, when they see him, they slowly move up to their knees, and now he's understanding this isn't a person as it stands up and another one steps out where he hadn't seen. So, and then the scream he heard as he looks down into the hole, there's a smaller version of these things. So he's down on one knee and then gets down into the prone position. At this point, he has his M4 trained on the two big ones. That's when he hears a rustling to his right, over by where his truck would be parked. And as he looks over, he sees the head of another one poking out over his truck, which is lifted up and all that. And for him to be able to see its head over there, he's saying 10 feet tall, something like that. So anyway, he's now freaking out that they've got him surrounded, and he actually said he was prepared to die. He was prepared to die. Like, he had PTSD and severe depression and got treatment for it. And at that point in time, he really didn't care. So what he did was he trained his weapon on the small one in the hall. And he said, well, I know I can drop that one with one shot and maybe give me a chance at the other two. When he did that, the one that had approached after the one stood up let out this low, he said it's the weirdest growl he's ever heard in his life, and took one step forward like it was going to leap that hold where he was and just tear him apart. And he's like, in my mind, I actually believe this thing can leap that hole. He said, but the other one that had been leaning down in the hole put its hand on the other one's shoulder and it stopped. He said, so maybe they're just upset that I've got my weapon trained at the small one in the hole. So he just moves it 6 inches to the left, its barrel, and just sits and stares at him. And the one that had crouched down eventually crouched down, reached down, threw the smaller one behind itself and the other one, and they backed away, never taking their eyes off of him for maybe 50 yards, 100 yards, he said, and then they just turned and walked. And as he was trying to see where the big one to his right was, it was just made it around the corner and where he could see the entire body. And I think he used a measurement off the tractor that was on the trailer, or the dozer that was on the trailer, so he could, by looking at the top of that one's head to where that was, he said, again, has to be 9-10 feet tall. But that dude stood there like vigilant until the other ones disappeared in the wood line. And then that one just backed away and disappeared. He said he had his uncle come and fill the hole in. He had got the equipment out, sold the property from the realtor he bought it from. Just so happened he was good friends with him. They just let him out of the deal, and he never went back.
Yeah, that's such an intense story, man. I listened to that same episode, and you did a great job telling it, by the way.
Thank you.
I think you covered like every important detail in there. But one thing that I really, really, really take away from that account, from this guy's account, number one, he is a veteran. He's a combat veteran. So, I mean, the man knows fear. And, talking about the level of fear that he had during this account was a level of fear that he had never experienced before. That's one of the things that really stuck out to me from this guy's story. But the second really big thing was that I think he actually said during his account was, I think he called them beasts. That's the first thing that popped into his mind was the word beasts. So like the crazy thing to me is the intelligence level that has to be there for these creatures, for these, you know, whatever you want to call them. I mean, the way he explained them and matching up with other accounts, it sounds like Sasquatch to me. But the intelligence level there, like that tells me that they understood what a rifle was, what a weapon was, because, you know, when he was pointing at the small one that was stuck in the hole, you know, the other one got really, really defensive, you know, crouched down, ready to engage in some kind of, you know, who knows what. But then also the big one that was around behind him in his truck, that's exactly what it was doing, was flanking him. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. So the intelligence level that's there, it doesn't sound like just, I mean, because if you're talking any other animal, you know, say that you have a pack of coyotes and one of them has fallen in this hole. Well, if some guy comes out with a rifle and he's making noise and, you know, he's at a dead sprint toward them to try to, these things are going to scatter, you know, to heck with whatever's stuck in that hole. They're taking care of themselves. But with this account, these two other creatures were there and they were going to defend this small one, you know, whether it be, you know, their child or a family member, whatever. You know, I don't think we know the rules on how their family hierarchy goes, but
I don't know.
The big ones that were there were going to defend this small one, you know, whatever it took, the way the guy told the story. So to me, that's a level of intelligence that, you know, yeah, mama bears will protect their cubs and, you know, mama anythings will protect their babies. You know, my wife, one way to see her mama bear is to hurt her children in any kind of way. And then she gets redneck crazy in a matter of seconds. So mama anything is going to protect their children, but only at a certain extent, you know, not intelligent ways like, okay, I'm crouching down here, I'm baring teeth, I'm growling and screaming and letting you know I'm doing everything that I can do to make sure that you're watching me while, you know, hubby or uncle or big brother, whoever is coming around flanking you from the back. And while you're paying attention to me, he's getting ready to take you out. I mean, to me, that's a level of intelligence that no other animal, no regular animal has.
No.
So that's nuts. Nuts to me.
It's crazy. I mean, it does show a level. Not only that, but when he moved the barrel of the gun and they recognized that move.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's the thing. Like they understood that the threat level was there. And then whenever he moved, like you said, moved the barrel of the gun, the barrel of the rifle, they stood down. They understood and realized, okay, the threat's not there anymore. So we'll step away. We'll leave the guy to his business, whatever. You know, we'll walk away from it. Let bygones be bygones. I don't know, dude. It just, that story blows my mind. I'm like you. That's one of my favorite accounts.
Oh yeah, by far. There was a couple of others I listened to, and I was trying to embed the stories into my head. I listened to them a couple of times. The one was the elderly woman. Oh, the one she told about inheriting that land from her grandparents.
I don't know if I remember that one.
She inherited this land from her grandparents. She was raised up in that area, her and her brothers and sisters, and they were always told, you don't go out there to the edge of the woods because I can't remember if she said the booger, or I think she called it the booger. She is from Virginia.
Okay,
Um,
real quick. This is something I just it just hit me the other day. I was talking to my dad. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you
you're
or
fine.
cut you off. I just, my ADD starts banging whenever I think of something. I got to get it out. So I was talking to my dad, and I have this really, really, really great idea coming up for like, oh, that's a whole different story. I'll get into that later. But I was talking to my dad, and when I was growing up, my mama, that's what we call grandmas around here. Well, that's what I do anyway. My mama used to always tell us, especially me, because I was mean as crap when I was little, that if I didn't calm down, the boogers was going to get me. The boogers, everything was a booger. The boogers are going to get you. Boogers are going to get you. And I didn't think it never hit me until I was talking to Dad the other day, and I was talking about, around here we call them wood boogers, this and that, blah blah blah. And I was like, wait a minute, is that what Mama was talking about when we were little? He said, yeah. He said, growing up, that's what they called. That's what everything was. They would say that, boogers or the boogeyman or whatever. Everything that they talked about, they were talking about a Bigfoot. That's what they claimed everything to be. And um, he said that even a couple of his uncles would talk about they'd say, well, the devil's gonna get you, or that devil booger is gonna get you. Everything was like some version of Bigfoot's gonna get you. And I know that in all cultures, worldwide, there's always those stories you tell little kids. Hey, such and such is going to get you if you don't do, ABC. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, something's going to get you. But I never thought about. I mean, I thought, okay, the boogeyman, some, whatever variation of the boogeyman that I had seen on television when I was a kid. That's what I always thought of. And it didn't hit me until I was talking to my dad the other day and talking about wood boogers. And then we were talking about my mama, that I realized when she said the booger man was going to get me, she was talking about Sasquatch. Crazy. Thank God he never got me, because I was mean as crap. So, Mama, I love you, but you're wrong. It don't work like that.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What was I talking about?
The woman that inherited the land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The woman that inherited the land. She's out in Virginia somewhere, close by. I mean, within a couple hundred miles. She has an accent like us. That was prevalent. She's talking about inherited this land and then married off to this other guy who they had money in their family, and he wasn't very good to her, but she got knocked up and they were having a fight one day, something like that. He was just being mean, and she just walked out into this field, and then before she knew it, she's at that wood line she was always told not to go to because the boogers would get you. But she's crying, she's sitting there, what in the world am I going to do? And she sits down at the base of this tree. I can't remember what kind of tree she said, but she sat down at the base of that tree and she's just crying. And then she said that just an explosion of leaves. She said, not 20 feet in front of me. And she's like, there's this thing standing there. And it's just locking eyes with her. She's like, she's like, I'm thinking, to my mind, she's like, at that point in time, I thought 6, 7, 8 feet tall. And she's talking about it backed away, over to another tree, but it wasn't leaving. And it was being like kind of aggressive in its motions and things like that. And you know how you can tell when somebody's postured the wrong way, She said it had that feel to it. So she's now balled her knees up to her chest, you know, and just sitting there and holding her stomach, and this thing still being aggressive. And she said, and I just put my hands over my face. She said, and I just closed my eyes. And she said, I just started praying, because she thought, well, this is how I'm going to die, out here in this field where I was always told not to go. My baby's going to be killed. You know, she's just bawling. And then she just hears this, oh, and this explosion of leaves. And she jerks her head up and realizes that a smaller one has jumped from the tree and landed not 3 feet in front of her. It gets up, darts away. It don't even turn to look at her, it just darts away. The other one moves that behind it, backs away. She says, that's when she's like, I'm telling myself to run, but I'm frozen in fear. She's like, but we've got to go. We got to do something. So she finally gets to stand up. She's holding onto the tree. She's not taking her eyes off of them, and she's backing up the field. And that's when they turn and walk the other way. And she turns and just runs all the way back to the house. And she said, I thought I was going to die that day, me and my baby. And she goes, but I guess the good Lord had his hand on us, and she got up to the house, and she said, I got my divorce and everything. So
It's changed her whole life.
Yeah, she's not putting up with the BS no more. That's
Yeah, well, I mean, that's good. That's a good thing.
And apparently she was a recording artist in Nashville. Wait. She was in, was it movies? No, she was singing. There was another account I listened to of a recording artist. I can't remember her name, and I forgot to Google her. That's another one, but I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to let you get into yours.
Please tell me it was Dolly. That'd be awesome.
It wasn't Dolly.
Dolly Parton's Bigfoot encounter. Well, no, man. I mean, that's another, but that's the thing, dude. And you see it with podcasts like Sasquatch Chronicles, like with all the firsthand accounts on, on the confessionals. You've got so many, Bigfoot and beyond. You've got so many just Bigfoot centered, podcasts, TV shows, documentaries, all these things that are out there, all these accounts from millions of people all over the world. Like I said before, that's just hard for me to believe that there's not something out there. We talked in the first episode about ways that or theories that are out there of, how these things may be able to keep hidden, stay hidden, to move from place to place, and I believe, I don't know, man. Like, I have to believe that with all of these accounts, there's something. There's something. These people are seeing something. Now, again, I feel like we have to say in almost every episode, there's a fair share of stories out there that when I hear, I'm like, okay, that's BS. That's, that never happened. Yeah. Sorry, but I don't believe it. But then you have accounts from and I don't know these people. I'm just hearing them talk. But like me and you have talked before, when somebody's given specific details about an account, specific details about, remembering every little thing from something that happened, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. To me, that was something major that happened that really imprinted into their brain to make them. And for me, that's hard to discount. I mean, I know there are really good storytellers out there, but to have every single detail, I mean, down to the minute for me, that's really hard to discount.
Yeah. I mean, that you get, like you said, you can tell when somebody goes into a story, like, no, never happened. Just next. Yeah. But Wes will never say that to anybody.
Well, any good host is never going to call, the people out. You want people to come on.
Maybe somebody should start. Like,
well, maybe
you get less hoaxers.
Maybe that's what we're here for.
Yeah, maybe that's what we were made to do. Like, this ain't Appalachian intelligence anymore. This is Bigfoot buff.
Yeah. Bigfoot debunked.
Yeah. Sir, you are a freaking liar. Just tell them how it is. Like, you are making it worse on everybody that wants to believe in this.
Thank you for coming on to the show. It's been a good one. We appreciate your lies. So now go tell them to somebody else, because you're here to get exposed.
Yeah. Like the one dude I listened to on Wes's thing, but now he told these stories and I was like, man, that's his first story. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Then he has like 3 or 4 more encounters, and by the end of it, he's following a family group. They still don't trust him even after all these years. And I'm like, oh God, you had me for a minute, fella. You had me for a minute.
Hey, you don't know that. Maybe he is following a family group. Maybe they're just going to bring him in and raise him up as one of their own. And, within a few years, he'll be like the Sasquatch Tarzan.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But he's also talking about having feces samples, hair samples, blood samples, and all that. And I would assume if you had all that and you wanted people to think, oh my God, Bigfoot is real, then you would submit that legitimate evidence. I'm calling BS on the whole thing.
Not if you don't, not if you're like me and you don't trust the authority. They're just going to mess it up anyway. Yeah. They're just going to say, it's tampered with, it's contaminated, it's blah, 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 blah. We don't trust them. So we're just going to keep it to ourselves until we can create our own lab and a way to test it ourselves. And then we'll tell you what it is.
That's what I was going to say. We're just going to start training Riley right now to be a genetics genius.
There you go.
Yeah.
Come on. That's a great idea.
Yeah, then we'll have our own laboratory.
We'll just raise our kids up in all the areas that we need them to be in to prove the existence of Bigfoot.
Yeah. Like, no, son, you're going to give up on that engineering degree dream. You're going, I need you in the microbiology.
Yeah. I mean, Connor, he wants to be a paleontologist anyway. So there's not a huge difference in saying, hey, why don't you go out here and find these prints and these tracks and get some casts? I mean, it's pretty similar. Similar. Not bad.
And on these shows, these guys are always titled cryptozoologist, inferring they have a degree in cryptozoology.
Yeah, that's not a degree.
I've looked everywhere.
Yeah, that's. I think that's like a 4-hour course on some website.
It's a non-accredited online university.
Yeah, it's something, because it's not really a degree that's out there.
And I'm not calling them doctor.
Yeah. I mean, we could. I don't know. Yeah. We could.
Hey, Doc.
Doc Crypto. Yeah. Doc Cryptid. All right, man. Are you ready to get into some Bigfoot wars?
I'm ready to get into some Bigfoot wars.
Okay. So,
hey,
this
is our podcast, right? We can take a time out real quick, right?
Yeah, we can take a time out.
I'm stepping to the fridge and coming right back. I can mute it.
Yeah, no, you're good. Do whatever you want to do. I'll start telling the account. You do whatever you got to do, man.
I'll jump back in and then say some crazy ass shit.
Yeah, that's fine. Do what you got to do. Okay, so the Bigfoot Wars of 1855. Um, it's a rather long account, but there's so much detail in there that I don't want to miss anything at all. So, yeah, buy me a coffee or Monster. There you go. And again, Monster, if you're hearing this and
I am now.
Monster, if you're hearing this and you like what you're hearing, hit us up. We'll push it. I mean, Ryan's blurry background's kind of messing it up, but there it is.
Boom. And
There
let
it
me
is.
show you something, folks. You son
It's
of a bitch.
it's still blurry.
Anyway,
blurry.
it's called Ultra Paradise. My wife asked me earlier, what does it taste like? I said, paradise. It's right there in the name, dumbass. But she doesn't appreciate those jokes. But she does laugh.
Ultra Paradise Monster at 9:17 p.m. That's how we roll. Well, that's how half of us rolls. This guy don't roll like that.
I promise you, you will be hard pressed to find anybody that drinks more Monster than me.
Yeah, you're not going to do it. There's nobody out there. Nobody.
I did not get good reports on the blood pressure situation today.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. It
wasn't good.
Probably drink less Monster. That's all you got to say.
And that's what's funny is
I'm a doctor.
I haven't had any. I think I had one Saturday, but let's see. No, it wasn't Saturday. It was Sunday. My bad. And then Monday, I felt the worst, and I didn't do much that day.
You didn't have enough blood in your Monster system.
Good heavens, I've shorted my body and it's gone into chaos.
All right, getting into the Bigfoot Wars of 1855. The very bizarre account begins in, surprise, 1855, in the region of the present U.S. states of Oklahoma and Arkansas, where the once mighty Choctaw Nation of Native Americans once ruled over all they saw. In this year, there was an apparent scourge of unseen bandits venturing forth from the wilderness to steal vegetables and even livestock. This might have been the end of it if it were not for the claim that the trespassers are said to have soon graduated to kidnapping people, mostly children, which provoked a fierce reaction in the tribe. A search party was allegedly formed, composed of a group of uncommonly large cavalry warriors called the Light Horsemen, the largest of whom was the towering Hamas Tubi and his 6 sons, who were widely reported as standing at around 7 feet or more in height. These real giants, along with a contingent of 30 other very large and fierce horseback riding warriors, headed out, led by a part French, part Choctaw general by the name of Joshua Lafleur. And their mission was to find the culprits and put an end to their reign. As they headed out into the wilderness in the early morning hours from the tribal capital in Tusculoma, fully armed with high-powered rifles and pistols and thirsty for vengeance, excuse me, these menacing, proud warriors no doubt thought that this would be a simple matter of routing some ragtag group of bandits, yet they were in for quite a bizarre surprise, to say the least. The group of warriors penetrated deep into the region, which is now known as the McCurtain County Wilderness Area of present-day Oklahoma. Excuse me. And after 8 hours of riding nonstop through the blazing June sun, they stopped at a spot near the Clover River to rest and eat before remounting and continuing on the last leg of their tiring journey. It was after nearly 14 hours of almost nonstop riding that the men reached the area where the bandits were said to be the most active. And it was here that Lafleur suddenly gave the order to halt, as if he had seen something that had caught his attention. Dude, I've got like a tickle in my throat.
I just want to interject here. You're saying it wrong. It's Lafleur.
Lafleur. Yeah. That's how I want to say it every single time.
Joshua Lafleur.
Lafleur.
And I guarantee you this, if his last name is Lafleur, he's putting together a great game plan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know that for sure. This is killing me. It's tickling my throat. Using a crude Oh, go ahead.
That was my nickname at the coal mines in Pennsylvania, by the way. Tickle.
Oh, tickle. Okay, well, let's don't say I got tickle in my throat anymore. That's a terrible, terrible idea. Using a crude telescope, Lafleur peered off into the distance as the men rumbled amongst themselves and the horses huffed and chuffed. The general claimed that he could see something moving about ahead and voiced his confidence that it was the enemy before putting the telescope aside and giving the warriors the order to charge. The massive, bloodthirsty warriors must have been quite a sight as they howled and rushed their horses through the trees in a mad dash into battle, weapons drawn and ready to fight. Yet their powerful drive forward, oh my gosh, this is killing me. Their powerful drive forward was soon brought to a halt when the unbearable stench of decay hit them like a wall, and their steeds began to inexplicably buck and rear in an abrupt, profound panic, knocking several of them to the mossy ground to writhe around, hacking and coughing. Such was the intensity of the supposed olfactory assault. Oh my goodness. Why is it like this? Like, nothing's going on until you want to start talking, and then all of a sudden you have this tickle.
You didn't cough one time when I was talking.
I know.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Some of the warriors, including the Tubbies and Lafleur himself, were allegedly able to control their animals and advance past this nauseating wave of rotting stink to rush towards the bandits. And as they exploded out into a forest clearing, the source of the Stygian stench was clear. Dude, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. There in the center of the clearing, they found what was described as some sort of earthen mound and had embedded within it and strewn about it numerous corpses in varying levels of decomposition, drawing a fog of flies that droned all about the startled warriors. Of human bandits, there was no sign, but looming nearby were three enormous ape-like creatures covered with hair, so tall as to dwarf even the most statuesque of the Tubies themselves. These beast men purportedly stood there glaring in their direction, completely unafraid of the tribal warriors. Okay, so this turns into a really, really, really long story. Okay, so I'm just gonna give you a brief rundown. Like they've been riding 14 hours. All right, they're out to get these bandits. They hit this wall of just putrid stink that shuts down half of the cavalry. They just dead stop because they're so grossed out. But Lafleur and a few of the light horsemen, they push on through. They get through there and they see this mound. They see this mound of rotting, decomposed bodies. Okay. Perhaps, the people that have been getting kidnapped. So they get out there. All right. They get close to it. And Joshua Lafleur, he gives the signal to charge. They see these three creatures, these three creatures that makes the Tubies look like, little people. He gives the order for his cavalry to charge. He sees all this wasteland of bodies in a state of decomposition. And he gives the order to charge. Well, they start that way, and then they hit another wave of this stench that stops, everybody, all the other light horsemen in their tracks. So Joshua Lafleur, he charges on totally by himself, like something out of an action movie. Charges on, pulls his revolver, unloads the revolver in one of these creatures' chests, doesn't phase the creature. The creature steps out, hits the horse in the head, swats the horse, knocks it down to the ground, sends Lafleur off flying, and then this creature reaches down, grabs Lafleur by the head of the hair, and rips his head off. Just rips his head off in one yank. So the other light horsemen, seeing that their general, their commander in chief, just had his head ripped off after he's unloaded his revolver into this creature's chest, they attack. And again, we're talking, the story says almost literal giants. These people were claimed to be 7 foot tall and above. So these guys charge, they attack, they start, emptying their rounds into these creatures. And I think they kill 1 or 2 of them, or they kill 2 of them, and one flees into the woods. And one of the tubies, Hamas Tubi, that was talking about here, he chases one of them down, finishes it off, and ends up hacking this creature's head off and bringing it back out. The people then, at the time, they just grab the bodies of these creatures, they bring them in, and they burn them. That wasn't, to them, I'm sure that, the Native American, like we talked about before, Native Americans and Native American legends claim to have, lived alongside these creatures. So it may have been nothing to them then. Maybe these things were more populous. We don't know. All I know is with this story, it sounds like something straight out of an action movie. Joshua LaFleur is a crazy man. Went right to these creatures as a one-man army, and yeah, he got killed for it, but it makes for a great story. Great story.
Yeah. I'd rather be telling the stories than be a part of that story. Jeez.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I really wanted to read the entire account, but as I scrolled through while I was reading, I realized this is super, super long. Like, we're going to be here for
I've been reading for 42 minutes.
Yeah, I've been reading for 67 minutes and I'm only a quarter of the way through. So we'll just break that down. I didn't realize that it was that long. So we'll just break down, hit the key details of that one. But like I said before, this, that story, it's so out there and it's so outlandish, every part about it. You have these ape-like Bigfoot creatures that are kidnapping people, taking livestock, taking food from the gardens, doing all these different things. But not only do you have these Bigfoots, but you have a tribe of people that are, literal giants, the way they're described, being led by a half French, half Native American commander in chief. There's a lot of variables in it.
There's a lot going on there.
There's a whole lot going on. But Joshua LaFleur's death certificate is out there. It is legit, and he did die in 1855. So is this some kind of legend to make the man Joshua LaFleur seem like this super awesome hero of a person? Or did this really happen? Because you have an entire tribe. Well, you have a whole cavalry of a tribe of people that are coming back with this story. Not one of them broke a story, or else it wouldn't have got, handed down. It wouldn't have passed through, almost 200 years now without, somebody's like, there's got to be a little bit of truth in the legend somewhere, I would think.
Oh man.
Sorry about all this coughing, folks. I don't know what's going on. I got this tickle in my throat, and it is refusing to go away. Like it's there. It's not trying to. It's not going anywhere. So,
it's all right, man. It's a cough.
Yeah, but it's really compelling audio. I'm sure. One sentence, cough, cough. Next sentence, cough, cough.
It's like a jump scare. Christian said the volume up.
Amos Tooby walked into the forest on the tail of this Bigfoot creature. And as soon as it see, you jumped out of your skin right there.
They just shit themselves. Man, I was on my way to work.
now I gotta turn around and go home, change. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Appalachian Intelligence. Okay, so next account we're getting into. It's the siege at Honubby, not Honobia, Honubby.
Honubby.
And this one right here, dude, like as cool as the story is of the Bigfoot wars, you know, is it true? You know, I don't know. Like it's pretty far out there. Would it be awesome if it were true? You know, minus the people getting killed, you know. I mean, it's part of the story. It happens, I guess. But you know, it's a really great story. But that's all that we really know of. I mean, the only proof that we have out there is Joshua LaFleur's death certificate saying that he died in 1855. You know, I hope if I drop dead tomorrow, somebody makes up a super awesome story about me like that.
Oh, I will.
That people are Googling in 200 years and they're like, man, Justin Kaiser was a bad mother. Listen to this story.
Yeah, because it's going to be what's going to happen is I'm going to create that story after I take out a few people I don't care for, and it's all going to lead back to you, brother.
Hey, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do.
He's dead.
Yeah. But this siege at Honubby, it's different. And it's different because it's still ongoing, number one. And this had, you know, this all came about really around the first of 2000, the first of the year 2000. And I'm going to read a little bit from, actually, it's from BFRO's website and their take on the whole thing. But then I got a little bit to say about that too.
Yeah.
So, the first little bit, it says the first message received by the BFRO from the uncle of the Honubby family. It says, quote, "Too many incidents to mention here. Please have someone contact us. This is no hoax, and my brother is afraid for his family. This creature is getting bolder every time it returns. This thing is huge, walks upright, smells like a musky urine, burned hair type odor. He repeatedly comes back in the early morning hours after midnight and harasses them until just before dawn. It has on more than one occasion tried to enter their home. We don't know where to turn. Everyone thinks we are crazy when we mention it. Please, we don't know what to do, but I do know that something needs to be done. There are stories we could tell that would make the hair stand on your neck." The message went on to explain that the family was having problems over the past 2 years with one or more nuisance animals that were prowling around outside the home at night. The animals were stealing deer meat from an outside shed. The situation had escalated when the animals tried to get into the home. At one point, the father went outside to confront the animal. He got a good look at one and took a shot at what he claimed was a Bigfoot running back into the woods. We contacted the family after receiving the report. The man we spoke with first was the brother of the father of the family. He insisted that they were not kidding around. At least one Bigfoot was coming around the homestead almost every night. It was coming onto the porch, messing with a window, wiggling the doorknob as if it wanted to get into the house, and even stealing deer meat out of a freezer that was kept in an open-sided outbuilding. Whatever it wasn't alone. The family could hear chattering and screaming from the hills when the prowlers were near the home. The wife was too fearful to remain in the house. She and the kids were relocated temporarily while the men armed themselves with assault rifles and prepared to defend the homestead against the nightly prowlers. On the night before the first message was received, the father fired at one of the animals and thought he may have hit it. The following morning, he found a substantial trail of blood in the yard and thought it was from the animal that he shot. So that was a little bit from the BFRO's website about the whole encounter. Now, just that part is super intense.
Yeah. Those kind of experiences are always the one I enjoy the most, I guess you'd say. It's more exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, this family's going through it. They're miserable. So what the BFRO does, they receive this message from the family. They go out there to investigate. They send a hunter out there with these investigators because the family had claimed that, these things, they've been tormenting them. This is in 2000. They've been tormenting the family for 2 years at this point. They had been stealing deer meat from out in the shed. They've been trying to get into the house, wiggling the doors, trying to open windows, doing all these different things, trying to get into these people's house. Scared the people to the point that the wife took the kids and left. So anytime that's going on, when you have a family separating because of, that's a big deal. So when the people sent the BFRO this message, they said, look, you're not going to come out here and this just be okay. We want these things hunted down. We want them killed. We don't want to call investigators. We want to call exterminators. So the BFR sends out a couple investigators and a hunter to go out there to team up with these investigators and with the dad and the uncle in this family to hunt these things down. Well, the guy that the BFRO sends out was a 72-year-old man. and I'm not trying to say anything about the BFRO. I don't know them. I don't know the members. I'm not a member. I don't know how they operate. I just know what the family said about the members from the BFRO that came out. And what they said was that this 72-year-old hunter spent most of his time in his truck sleeping while the investigators were out in the woods trying to find these things. And they found fresh animal kills. They found a deer that its limbs were torn off and it was just tore into and entrails were pulled out of it. See, the family had they had snow peas growing everywhere. And the BFRO even kind of came out and told the family or made it look like that they were poaching deer because they had snow peas out. Well, anybody that knows snow peas knows that they grow annually, regardless of if you plant or not. They're going to grow.
Yeah. So
due to those snow peas being on the property, the deer population was enormous, was huge. So the family didn't have to really go deer hunting. They wanted deer meat. They stepped on their front porch or out in the yard and they killed deer during deer season, which it's on their property. It's totally legal. But the BFRO, they kept kind of the way that I took it and hearing from the family, I didn't speak to them in person, but reading their response to these things, they weren't impressed. They felt that the BFRO was trying to pin all this on them and saying, okay, well, you have these snow peas, you have this giant deer population. In turn, you have these predators that are here that are wanting the deer as much as you are. So get rid of all these things and you'll get rid of them. Well, to their point and their credit was, this is our home. This is where we live. And these things are intruding on everything that we're doing. So there was even one instance that the father of the family, his sister or cousin, it was a female in the family, had come to visit and brought her daughter, her kid, and was pulling up to the gate to step out, open the gate, come on up onto the property. And while she was opening the gate, rocks started being thrown at her. And as she turned around, she saw this creature standing, just a few feet away. But when she turned back around, there was another creature on the other side of her car, like where her driver's side door was, peeking in the back window at her child, and then starts smacking on the glass. So she's completely freaked out. She starts screaming and hollering. Here comes, the father. He's running down. As he's running, he's got his gun again. As soon as he comes with his rifle, these things take off. So we're talking a family that is being harassed by what they claim to be multiple Bigfoot, Sasquatches. What's the plural of Bigfoot? Bigfoot, Bigfoots, big feet, big feets, big.
I don't know.
Should we call them big feets?
I don't know. Could it be like crows or a murder? They got the cool name.
That is a cool name.
Wait, let's see. It's not a.
There was an entire group of
geese.
There was an entire group of big feets that were out there trying.
How about
but no, dude,
like bundle of Bigfoot. That's
a bundle of big feets. There you go. But no, dude, I mean, it's just like this family at Honubby, has been going through this for years and years and years now to this point. And I mean, now, yeah, they've kind of made a big deal out of it. They have, in this town, they have this big Bigfoot festival, and all this different stuff. But the family themselves haven't received anything. They haven't received anything with this story. All they've got is investigators to come out and hunters to come out and all these people just to say, hey, you guys are the problem, fix it, and you've got a family that's separating, that won't live there. You've got an old stubborn dad that's the same way I would be, that's refusing to leave or to do anything. And this is a big property, like 400 acres, something like that. And here's the tie-in. Okay, this is in LaFleur County, Oklahoma, that borders Arkansas. It's the exact area, dude, that everything that's going on in Honubby with this family especially is the exact area that the Bigfoot Wars of 1855 took place. It's the exact area.
Well, I mean, that's not a coincidence.
I don't think it is, man. I don't think that it's a coincidence. I mean, you have, like I said before, and like I always say, I was just talking to my son Connor the other day, and I told him the same thing. I think with all legends, even though they may have been totally and completely misconstrued throughout time, with all legends, I feel like there's a hint of truth in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
So if this account, if this story of the Bigfoot Wars of 1855 is even partially, even if there's just a little tiny fraction of truth in there with these creatures, this family, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, we got no reason not to.
Well, the BFRO investigators, and I know that they're a little biased as well. I know they are, but even them, that they said that they seen them, they heard them, that at night at the wood line there would be pairs of eyes just all across the wood line. They would be chattering back and forth, screaming, communicating with each other, like to the point that the dad would just step out on the porch and start firing off at the wood line, just doing what he could do to keep these things from coming and trying to get into the house, apparently. Because that's what caused the wife and kids to leave, that these things were trying to get in. And it's just like, the story that we told in part 1 of the elderly couple where the Bigfoot took the dog food, then took the dogs, then came for the people, I guess, because it was stalking them all around the house. Who knows if it's not the same thing kind of going on there. Yeah. Hey, you're not letting us eat your snow peas. You're not letting us eat your deer. We stole your deer meat out of the freezer. So I guess we're going to have to eat you. We don't know, dude. Like I don't know. It's nuts. But anybody that wants to do their own research, because there's a whole lot of details that I've left out of this story, because you're talking years and years and years of accounts just from this one place. Anybody that does have interest in this, just Google the siege of Honubia, spelled Hanobia. Google that and enjoy, because it's terrible for this family, but if you're into the legend of Bigfoot, man, it's some insane accounts from tons of different family members, a few different BFRO investigators, even I'm pretty sure like local law enforcement. There's a dozen people, if not more, that have some kind of account at Honubia, at this place.
Crazy.
It is crazy, man. It's crazy.
And it goes to show, not everybody is a hoaxer. Not everybody is lying about this. They've obviously seen something.
Yeah. I believe
what are they gaining by telling a story about it? They're not getting money for it. They're just telling their story.
Well, they took or they thought of, the biggest name in the Bigfoot field out there, the BFRO, the Bigfoot Research Organization, and said, hey, we need help. This isn't a hoax. We're not playing games. We need help. This is a crisis. We need somebody to come in here and help us fix it. Anybody that gets to that point, that they're sending out a cry for help from, somebody that they think might be capable of doing it. Like, how can you not believe that? Yeah. When you have a wife and kids that are gone, when you have a dad that's at his wit's end, when you're literally like sleeping out in your vehicles at night, and you hear the dad come out and just start opening fire on all this stuff around, like, who does that other than a crazed lunatic? But everybody, all these investigators, everybody that's talked about the family says that, this guy is super intelligent. He's extremely polite, that, he's there's no indication there at all that, hey, this guy is just crazy. This family's nuts. There's no indication of that at all. They're upstanding citizens with a good reputation around the area, dealing with big feats that are a bundle of big feats that are harassing them like crazy.
That would be something to go over there and just to experience it, see if it really happens,
Yeah.
All that jazz.
Yeah,
I like experiencing things myself,
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well, for me to put more stock into it than what I already did. I've read this, like I say, I'm even a little biased on this.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We are going to get into topics that, individually or collectively, whatever, we're going to be a little biased on. But regardless of bias, both of us are still logical enough. You way more than me. We're logical enough to weigh things out and look at the information and see what's out there and decide, how far-fetched is this. Now we're going to be getting into some crazy, crazy, crazy topics. We have a couple guests lined up right now that I think are going to be super interesting conversations. And there's going to be, theories thrown out there that is going to have Ryan ready to shove that entire monster in his eyeball. But it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Am I going to get a heads up on what the topics are about? Or am I just being blindsided?
No. I'll give you a heads up. Okay. If I have a heads up, I'll give you a heads up. A couple of these guests, I mean, they're just like, hey, we'll just let whatever fly. So it just may be crazy conversation. Who knows?
I'm all for it.
I'll try to line up the topics and get an idea. That way we can have some questions at least to ask.
Yeah. But I got to know what I'm rebutting here.
But you know us. I mean, we like to shoot from the hip. I mean, that's what we do.
That's how I live my life.
We wing it. We shoot from the hip.
I got 3 kids.
Shooting from the middle of the hips.
I missed the first time, had a boy, but I blew the pecker off the next 2. And that's shooting from the hip.
Yeah, that sure is. It sure is. All right, man. Well, that's all the counts that I want to share. I had to paraphrase both of them enormously, or else this would have been a 6-hour podcast. If you are listening or watching and you are interested in these accounts that we've talked about, go check them out. I mean, because they're, Ryan done a great job with his accounts. I paraphrased a lot. So,
well, you had to condense. Those are like short novels, ebooks. We would have been doing an ebook by this time, and we'd have been audible.
Yeah,
audible. We'd have been audible.
Full of coughing.
Welcome to audible.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, man. That's all I got, though.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
Ends the Bigfoot topic for now. Because experiences are happening all the time. There's got to be some updates on Honabi. If that's still going on, then there's got to be more stories to get from them. Heck, maybe we can figure out how to get in contact with them.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe we can get them to come on the show. I'm going to go for it.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
I got drunk the other night and was tweeting all these actors and things like Will Arnett and them from Smartless, like, listen to my podcast.
That's awesome.
Oh, dear God. I'm just going to let it ride. What if
that's awesome?
Shot in the dark and they're like,
hey, look, man.
Listen to this podcast. Listen to these idiots. We got to talk to these guys.
You miss every shot you don't take.
That's right.
So,
you never hit the target if you never shoot. So,
that's it, man.
We're shooting for the stars here.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, again, thanks for coming and checking us out. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I said, we've got a couple guests lined up with some really interesting topics coming up down the road. Tune back in, check us out, subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on socials at Facebook at Appalachian Intelligence, Twitter at AI App Intel Pod. Our YouTube channel is Appalachian Intelligence. Support the show if you like what you're hearing. The support the show link will be in the show notes. Rate and review. wherever you listen to podcasts. And what am I missing? Oh, send your stories. Send your stories. If you have,
please.
If you have encounters, whatever kind of encounters, paranormal, ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, anything. It don't even have to be any of that. If you just got a cool story, we don't care what it is. I mean, we'll talk about anything. Yeah. Just let us know.
If you don't want to give your name, don't do it. Create a separate email address and just send us that email, and we won't use your name, but we'll tell your story. Or
just tell us in the email, hey, this is my story. I would prefer you keep me anonymous, and that's what we'll do. But you can contact us at AppalachianIntelligence@gmail.com. I think that covers all the bases. We hope you guys enjoyed. We hope you continue to tune in and check us out. We'll keep trying to get better. We'll try to get rid of the COVID congestion, tickle in throats, coughing, all this crud. I guess that's podcasting during cold and flu season for you.
Yeah. What do you want from us?
Yeah, we're trying our best.
We're people, damn it. All right, man.
That's all I got. So
all I got. We'll see y'all next time.
Until next time, guys. We'll see you later.